My name is Wanlass. I'm from Southern California. I'm in Singapore 5 years this time, and I came back to take advantage of Singapore's, frankly, security and small technology circle to work on some new solar technology, new form of solar energy collection. So here in Singapore it's very small, so it's great. You can have multiple meetings in one day, whereas in America I might have to go to the East Coast one day, travel again to the middle of the country, and then travel back to Los Angeles. And here in Singapore I can do that all in one afternoon. So it's pretty convenient, and there's a strong technology hub here. So we're doing our R&D here. Basically 5 years ago I'd been looking at really a way to approach solar by taking the best assets from each approach and trying to build them into one approach. So taking concentrated solar and making it nanoscopically small. Taking solar panels and making them more efficient in form. In other words, so you could apply them to windows or trains or surfaces. And so in that journey, I ended up following where that went, and it took me to a thing that I'm calling raw solar. And so this is the idea that we collect the solar energy, but we don't have to process it into electricity at the point of collection. Ergo, there's no need for a panel as we know it. And this frees the form and allows collection and consumption to be different. And so by just harvesting the raw energy of solar, we can use it underground for growing plants in places like Arctic winter. We can transport it losslessly tens of thousands of miles, or we can use it to produce energy locally or afar. So I think in the future, when you're looking at Mars and the moon, there is no other option. And I think it's intelligent to look at that because it is the permanent solution if you have an energy economy based on light. So it's the difference between we live with electrons now. In the future, I think it's photons. When you look at solar technology today, really it's the same technology that was worked out in the 50s, like 80 years ago. And what it's been is incremental over time, improvement in efficiency, improvement in fundamental systems, but the technology itself hasn't changed. It's just been improvement, squeezing more out of what was come up with a long time ago until there's just nothing left to squeeze, and we're kind of at that place now. There's really not more you can get out of the current form of technology. I think one of the issues that I do see that's common is someone will come up with a new idea, and I have no idea if this is an IP issue or not, but for instance, they realize that if you have more surface area on the photovoltaics, there's more opportunity to convert radiant energy from the sun. And so they started putting grooves in the voltaics. Now, that idea to increase the surface area by putting deep grooves, which is a laser etching process, can be emulated in different ways other than using a laser. So if someone had the original idea of how to expand the surface area dramatically and add some amount of efficiency to the panel, but that approach, that result can be come to by other approaches. Those other approaches are also innovative, but they're not the original innovation. They're an emulation of it. And so I think across technology, I'd imagine in software too, you have a new result and then multiple paths to get there. So all of it's innovation, but which one really introduced that method? And I think that's where things get a little gray area. Yeah. 5 years ago when I was fleshing this out, and I spent a few years really vetting it and looking at it every way, I think at one point I told my wife, I said this is, because it's such a simple thing that I've done. It's one of these things where it's so simple it's hard for people to understand because they're so ingrained in what the world is today when it comes to solar. And so it takes a while. I've had to learn how to get them there to understand the change I'm introducing from a half-hour discussion to like 45 seconds. And so I've gotten a lot better at that. That's been very challenging, learning how to explain that I'm separating the collection and the conversion of energy from solar into two different processes. And that's it. That took a while because I'm a technical person. And so getting the pitch to where they could go, oh, I get what you're talking about. That took a while. I think I joked with my wife years ago. I said, You know, if I just need to talk to the 10 smartest people in the world for 5 minutes and we'll be fine. They'll get it. And then they can tell and explain to other people. I'm just having a hard time explaining it. But I think now I've gotten a lot better at that part. Yeah. But by communicating the idea, yeah, tricky. I think this year will be sort of ramping back up our partnerships and kind of, I think for everyone here in Singapore, picking up the threads and getting back to it in terms of people who need to be on site doing physical processes. But I do think heading into next summer we'll be completing POC, POV, looking to get across the gap of death and get into our first round of funding. We have some terrific outfits here, NTU and Ecolabs and some partners waiting to dive into this and create the opportunity. Part of the inspiration, honestly, for this technology was living here in Singapore and being amazed at how a country with almost no resources can sustain itself and be self-supporting in a time of, say, chaos like we've just gone through. Fossil fuels aren't that answer, and so I started looking at how to electrify skyscrapers with solar and things like that. So very much, I think, for me, being here in Singapore and doing this process, it adds a little to it because I know when it comes to pilot projects, whether it's producing food or energy, I know the need is real here, and I'm also having done some business with different ministries here and whatnot. I'm very aware of the national security aspect of sustainability for Singapore when it comes to energy. So I think hopefully by next summer we're ready to start rolling out some pilot projects. We'd like to do a floating field on one of the reservoirs. There's already some big ones going in, but this technology is quite different. It's waterproof, for instance, so that's nice. And then we'd like to do an indoor farm, and we'd like to do some buildings. But again, I think because Singapore has a need for these solutions. In some countries that are bigger, I think these solutions, it's a matter of the pursuit of them may not be as dire because the need isn't as dire. But I think that Singapore very wisely is always looking ahead. Where I'm from in the United States, the climate on sustainability, no pun intended, can change from administration to administration. And that can absolutely cause chaos in progress. I think here in Singapore, you don't have that really, not so much. Yeah. Thanks for having me in, and thanks to PitchMark, and I look forward to working with you guys, for sure.